a beacon of comfort, the cardinal of love.
Sienna Hale wasn't a therapist. She wasn't a life coach. She was simply someone who knew how to listen, really listen, which is why she volunteered 2 nights a week at a small community hotline. Most calls were quiet ones, people tired, sad, overwhelmed, or simply needing a voice on the other end. Before the story begins, if you enjoy these modern, human stories filled with small moments that matter, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps these gentle tales reach the people who might need them. One evening, during a slow shift, Sienna received an unusual call. A man laughing breathlessly, insisting he was being followed by a red bird with attitude. She thought it was a prank until she looked out the window. A cardinal sat on the branch outside, staring straight at her. That night, she took 5 calls. And strangely, every story involved a cardinal. Different people, different situations, same red bird. And by the end of the shift, Sienna realized she wasn't just answering calls. She was hearing pieces of her own story reflected back at her. The hotline office wasn't much, just 4 desks, a humming old AC unit, and a yellow lamp in the corner that flickered like it couldn't commit. But Sienna Hale liked it that way. The room felt lived in, softened by the hundreds of stories that had passed through it. She put on her headset, took a sip of lukewarm tea, and waited for the next call. Most nights were quiet. Most nights she simply listened to tired people with tired hearts. But tonight, call number 1 was different. A man's voice burst through the line, half laughing, half panicking. Okay, tell me this isn't weird. A cardinal is following me. Like, actually following me. I'm on my 3rd location. Sienna blinked. Cardinal? Yes, red bird, tiny, judgy eyes. I swear it teleported. She bit back a smile. Sometimes birds get curious. No, this one has intentions. I can tell. While the man ranted about the bird's suspicious moral superiority, Sienna absently turned toward the window beside her desk. Her breath caught. A bright red cardinal perched on the branch outside, staring directly at her. Still, calm, and just close enough to feel intentional. She froze, head set warm against her ears. I'm telling you, the caller continued, this bird is onto something. Sienna swallowed, eyes locked on the cardinal. Yeah, she murmured softly into the phone. Maybe it is. The bird didn't move. Neither did she. And for reasons she couldn't explain, the air felt heavier, like something meaningful had just stepped quietly into the room. Not long after the bird with intentions caller hung up, the hotline went quiet again. Sienna took a breath, jotting a few notes just to steady herself, but her eyes kept drifting to the window, where the cardinal still perched like a red punctuation mark in the night. The phone rang. Sienna straightened, pressed the button. Community Care Hotline, this is Sienna speaking. A fragile voice, trembling with age, filled her ear. Oh dear, I hope it's all right I'm calling again. Sienna softened immediately. She recognized the voice. Mrs. Winslow, an elderly widow who phoned about once a month. Of course, I'm here. Tell me what's on your mind. There was a small pause, breathy and tender. I saw him again today, Mrs. Winslow whispered. The little red bird. He comes every afternoon now. Sits on my garden wall like he's keeping me company. Sienna felt her chest warm. That sounds lovely. It is. My husband loved birds, you know. Cardinals especially. I like to think, her voice cracked, I like to think the bird knows I'm a little lonely. Sienna closed her eyes, letting the ache settle gently. She pictured the woman in her quiet home, soft light falling across old picture frames, a single red bird perched nearby, like a quiet echo of love that once filled the room. I don't think you're imagining it, Sienna said softly. Sometimes small things stay with us when big things leave. Mrs. Winslow exhaled, a tender, unsteady sound. Thank you, dear. I just needed someone to hear me. I'm here. Sienna repeated. The call ended. The room fell still. Outside the window, The cardinal fluttered its wings and stayed. The next call came in so abruptly that Sienna nearly spilled her tea. Hotline, this is Sienna speaking. A sharp sigh cut her off. Yeah, hi. Whatever. I just need to talk to someone who isn't a teacher. The voice was young. Maybe 16, maybe 17, restless, defensive, and tired of pretending otherwise. I'm listening, Sienna said, adjusting her tone instantly. I'm in detention, the teenager muttered. Again, I didn't even do anything this time. I was just drawing. What were you drawing? There was a pause, then a reluctant admission. A bird. What kind of bird? A cardinal. Okay? A stupid cardinal. Sienna's eyebrows lifted. This was the third call tonight mentioning a cardinal. The teen continued, voice cracking between irritation and hurt. They said it was distracting and took my sketchbook. It's literally the only thing that makes sense in my brain. And they just... He stopped abruptly. Sorry, I'm not supposed to yell. It's all right, Sienna said softly. You care about something. That's not a problem. He sniffed. It looked better in my head anyway. Sienna leaned forward, imagining him sitting at a desk under buzzing school lights, knuckles tight around a pencil. Drawing isn't about getting it perfect, she said. It's about breathing through your hand. A long silence followed. Then, quietly, I miss my sketchbook. Sienna swallowed. Maybe this is a moment to remember why you draw. Not for them, for you. Outside the window, as if responding to his confession, the cardinal hopped closer on the branch, feathers catching the glow from the street lamp. Sienna didn't mention the bird, but she felt its presence settle the room. The hotline rang again, just as Sienna was finishing her notes on the teen artist. She took a breath, studying her voice before pressing accept. Community Care Hotline, this is Sienna. What answered wasn't words. It was breathing, heavy, exhausted breathing. I just needed a minute, just 1 minute where no one needs me. Sienna sat up straighter. You're safe here. Take your time. The woman inhaled shakily. I'm a nurse, 12-hour shift. Haven't sat down in 6. My patient load doubled today, and I can't remember the last time I ate anything that wasn't from a vending machine. Sienna felt her heart sink. What made you call tonight? Another breath. There's a railing outside the hospital. I step out there when I'm drowning. Usually it's empty, but tonight, her voice softened into disbelief. Tonight, a cardinal landed right next to me, just sat there, like it knew I needed something alive to look at. Sienna felt her pulse catch. Did it help? For a second, the nurse whispered. Then I went back inside and everything was still chaos. And her voice cracked. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Sienna pressed a hand to her chest, grounding herself. You don't have to decide your whole life tonight. You just have to make it through this moment. And right now, you're doing that. Outside the hotline window, the cardinal flapped its wings and settled again, closer than before. Listening, somehow. Sienna lowered her voice. You're allowed to rest, even if it's only on the phone with me. The nurse exhaled, long and trembling. Thank you. I really needed someone to say that. By the time the next call came in, Sienna had already rubbed her temples twice and finished half a cup of tea she didn't remember making. She clicked answer with a slow exhale. Hotline, this is Sienna. Good, great, listen! The voice was loud, dramatic, and absolutely full of chaos. Sienna blinked. Hello? I need to report a crime, the caller said urgently. A bird is stalking me. Sienna closed her eyes. Oh no, another one. A cardinal, he added, red, smug, probably judging my life choices. She stifled a laugh. Okay, what makes you think it's stalking you? I went to buy coffee. Bird was on the bike rack. He inhaled sharply. I went to my friend's house. Bird was on the mailbox. Another breath. I went to the grocery store. Bird was on top of the saltines. Sienna pressed her knuckles to her mouth to hide a smile. Maybe it just likes you? No one likes me, he replied dramatically. I'm a stand-up comedian. My job is to be yelled at by drunk strangers. She laughed softly despite herself. Well, the cardinal seems committed to you. There was a long pause. His voice softened, cracking around the edges. Look, all jokes aside, I'm tired. I'm bombing on stage. I don't know if I'm funny anymore. And this bird keeps showing up like it knows something I don't. Sienna's laughter faded into understanding. Maybe the bird isn't judging you, she said. Maybe it's reminding you to breathe. The comedian sniffed. That's weirdly comforting, actually. She smiled gently. Most honest things are. Outside her window, as if timing its entrance perfectly, the cardinal hopped closer on the branch, tilting its head like it too was listening. When the comedian hung up, the room fell into a deep, almost echoing silence. Sienna removed her headset and rested it around her neck, letting the warmth fade from her ears. She stared at her notebook. 4 pages filled tonight, each with different handwriting, different struggles, different lives. But one thing was the same: a cardinal. Every caller, without knowing each other, had mentioned one. A lonely widow's companion, a stressed teen's sketch, a nurse's moment of breath, a comedian's accidental running joke. 4 people, 4 stories, one red bird weaving through all of them. Sienna rubbed her thumb over the bracelet on her wrist, a soft, nervous habit she often forgot she had. Her reflection stared faintly back at her from the darkened computer screen. Tired eyes, soft expression. A woman who carried more emotion than she ever admitted. The phone hadn't rung again yet, but something else caught her attention. A sudden tap, then another. She turned toward the window. The cardinal, the same one she felt certain, perched just inches from the glass, closer than ever. Its feathers glowed under the street lamp, a small flame against the quiet. It tapped once more, gently, as if knocking. Sienna exhaled, her breath almost trembling. "What are you trying to tell me?" she whispered to the empty room. But she already knew the answer. It wasn't the bird speaking. It was the pattern beneath the calls, the emotions she recognized because she'd hidden the same ones inside herself. Loneliness, creative silence, exhaustion, doubt. Every story tonight had reflected a piece of her. And for the first time, she wondered if listening to these calls wasn't just helping others, but calling her back to her own unmet self. The office was still, too still. Sienna sat in her chair without putting her headset back on. For the first time that night, she wasn't waiting for a call, she was avoiding one. The cardinal remained on the branch outside, unmoving, watching her through the glass with a steady patience that felt almost unnerving. She pressed her fingers to the bracelet on her wrist, tightening and releasing it, the motion grounding her. Finally, with a shaky inhale, she reached for her phone. Not the hotline console, but her personal cell. She scrolled through her contacts until she reached the name she had avoided for months. Marissa, supervisor. Sienna hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. Then she tapped call. The line rang once before a warm, familiar voice answered. "Sienna? Everything all right?" Sienna swallowed. I think I'm burned out," she whispered. "Not just tired, not just stressed. I mean, deeply emptied. And I keep pretending I'm fine because other people have it worse." There was a gentle pause on the other end. "I'm glad you finally said that out loud." Sienna felt her throat tighten. "I listen to everyone else's stories, but I haven't been listening to my own. And tonight, every call," her voice cracked, "every call felt like a piece of me talking back." Outside the window, the cardinal shifted closer, feathers brushing the glass. Marissa's voice softened. "Sienna, you're allowed to be human. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to ask for help." Tears welled up before Sienna could stop them. She covered her mouth, nodding even though Marissa couldn't see. "Thank you," she whispered. "I think I really needed someone to hear me." For the first time all night, she felt her chest loosen, not from a caller's story, but from her own honesty. Sienna ended her call with Marissa and gently placed her phone on the desk. For a long moment, she just sat there, breathing, not rushing, letting the weight she had carried quietly for months finally settle in a way that didn't feel crushing. She put her headset back on, ready to close her shift. But before she could reach for the console, the cardinal tapped once more on the window. A soft, intentional sound. Sienna turned. The bird perched there calmly, feathers bright against the dark city backdrop, eyes steady and reflective, not magical, not symbolic, just present. Present in the same way every caller tonight had been present with their truth. The narrator speaks now, softly, pulling the threads together. 1. Some stories arrive disguised as someone else's voice. 2. Sometimes you recognize your own struggles only when you hear them echoed by strangers. 3. Loneliness, doubt, exhaustion, fear. These are not personal failures. They are shared human experiences. 4. We don't heal by pretending to be strong. We heal by allowing ourselves to be seen. 4. And every so often, a small, ordinary moment, a voice, a pause, a red bird on a branch reminds us we're not alone. Sienna reached toward the window, resting her palm lightly against the glass. The cardinal lingered a moment longer, then lifted into the air, wings catching the city light as it disappeared into the warm glow of street lamps. Sienna closed the hotline system for the night, and as she stepped out into the quiet hallway, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not empty, not overwhelmed, just connected. If this story touched you, thank you for being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps these gentle, human stories reach the people who need them most.